Good day. Nice to have you visit once again. I would like to talk with you today about the failed British justice system, once a beacon of hope, now a failing, guttering candle. I commenced writing and warning people about the predilections of Pakistani Muslims, both British-born and migrant, for the organised rape and terror inflicted upon young, bright, white British girls in northern towns and cities as long ago as 2014. I highlighted back then that the one man who first raised that damning truth about the Muslim rape gangs was himself an outcast because of his party and for their own scarcely hidden race agenda. But a man's politics should not, in my own view, be used as a verbal bludgeon by the left wing in their attempts to make him appear unacceptable. As of the date when the Rotherham child betrayal report was first published, many millions of words have been published on this story of the complete betrayal of a generation of young female white children who have lived, or rather existed, in towns and cities where Pakistani Muslim men, mainly from the Pashtun tribal regions of Kashmir, as well as Bangladesh and Afghanistan, have systematically raped, beaten, sexually exploited undercover young white girls, under cover of a self-satisfied horde of politicians, social workers, and worst of all, police, who did absolutely nothing to rescue those girls from the hellhole of a life that they were living. When the girls told their parents, and the parents complained, the police told them that their daughters were just part of a bunch of white slappers who deserved everything they got. And this was the opinion of the social worker bunch and the politicians as well. It took one fearless woman, Professor Alexis J., to rip the veil, or rather the niqab, from the slime which was the truth behind the Muslim peril which existed and indeed still exists, just one small step away from the ever so righteous Muslims who parade in and out of the Rotherham, Rochdale and Manchester mosques, as well as those in Luton and in many other towns and cities across this land, which once spoke of itself as a free country. But we were warned that this sort of thing was happening. The gang rapes, the fearsome brutality, the organised exploitation of white schoolgirls who had the great misfortune to be sent to a council care home. We were warned 10 years ago, but the problem was that because the person who first made those warnings was not politically acceptable, was not accepted as being trustworthy, he was in fact accused of criminal behaviour for uttering that very warning. His words and his warnings were rejected and ignored. Who was that man? His name was Nick Griffin. He was the party leader of the British National Party, and he was charged but ultimately found not guilty of one count of using words of behaviour intended to stir up racial hatred, and an alternative count of using words or behaviour likely to stir up racial hatred. These charges were levelled in 2012. Griffin's face and name have disappeared from the headlines. His very party was riven with dissent and virtually disappeared itself. But that does not mean the things he spoke about also disappeared. Just the other evening on GB News, a channel which I have come to rely upon for impartial news and opinion, there was a discussion regarding the Independent Police Office for Police Complaints report on the failure of the Rotherham Police to even investigate the charges brought in by those young girls. The latest report from the IOPC said that they had carried out 91 investigations into the South Yorkshire Police. Which was subject to 265 separate allegations made by 51 individual complainants levied by 44 survivors of that sexual abuse, 3 family members and 4 third parties. A total of 47 officers were investigated by the police watchdog, which found 8 had cases to answer for misconduct, 6 for gross misconduct. Yet despite these findings, the report mirrored previous police investigations in that none of the officers will face losing their jobs, pensions, or face criminal charges. The most severe sanction for any officer involved was a written warning. I bet that really worries the bloody coppers. I thank you for your visit, and I hope to see you again soon.